First, I'd like to thank our minister for such a wonderful. She had Laura Quake. I think she was. And I want to thank the nieces and nephews for allowing me to say something. I had a brother, Reverend William Mulford, who some of you may have known, I don't know. But I said a few things about him, and the minister, after I was done, said, "Please remind me never to have my brother talk at my funeral." Well, I told a story that Mom had told, and it was funny. But I was the youngest of 4 children. Laura was 3 years older than I, and then my brothers were 5 and 7 years older. And it was Mom who told me some of the things I'm going to tell you now, because I, of course, was too young to remember them. But I think they're worth mentioning. I think probably spring for us farm kids is one of the best times of the year. And I'm a kind of an amateur poet, and I've written a small poem that I'd like to share with you for your indulgence. When the chill of winter is finally past, and spring is here, it's here at last, I thank my Creator with unspoken prayer for the beauty of nature and the smell in the air, for the songs of the birds in the soft morning light, for the call of the cranes on their long northern flight. There are so many things that I love about spring. Thank you, God, for this joy that you bring. Laura kind of liked that poem, so that's the one I chose to say today. But like I said, I think farm children, I don't know of too many of them that didn't like spring, because that's when all the baby animals, it was just freshing, and it was good smelling, and it was just a good time. And we enjoyed that. Mom said that when I was, of course, little, and I don't remember anything about it, if I had to cry for some reason, Laura would always come over, and where I was on the floor or wherever I was, she'd sit by me. She wouldn't say anything. She'd just sit by me. And after I'd had my cry out and so on, then she would suggest something like that. Freddie, I was Freddie then. Would you like to go outside and play? Well, of course, that was a question that didn't need to be asked. I love to be outdoors. And usually, usually I would chase a bird or something. When you're 2 or whatever, you like to see the birds fly away. And if I happened to have a bug crawl across my path, I had to, of course, thoroughly examine that bug. And as little kids do, I don't know about bugs, but they just seem to like to watch them. And I don't remember any of that, because that was before I remembered things about Laura. To my 2 older brothers, I was kind of a pest. They were not, I'm not saying they were naturally bad to me, but they certainly didn't pay much attention to me. And Laura was always there. And one of the things that she liked to play, and you can identify this, the women can, she liked to play house. And I would play with her, and it was something that maybe I didn't exactly appreciate, but I said, and then we'd take firewood and we'd put it end to end to make rooms and so on. And then we'd have our house. And Laura was a master at making mud pies. And we found, I don't know who did this, I'm not saying I did, but we found that if you put a chicken egg in that mixture of mud and so on and so on, it just stuck together better. And until Mom found out what we were doing, that came to a screeching halt. But she liked to play house. And we lived close to, it was more of a depression in the ground, but every spring it would fill up with water, and we had toads, I don't think they were frogs, who we called it, such a common name, it was a pollywog pond. Because the toads would lay their eggs there, and then be all, they'd sing to us at night. And I can remember just going to sleep hearing their croaking and so on. I can remember that, and I know that Laura did too. One of the things that I remember first about Laura was that she would read to me. She was 3 years older and she learned how to read, and I'd sit up on the couch beside her and she would read, and I'd usually listen and behave myself, and but she just loved to read. And I think I would be amiss if I did not mention Mildred Ione McClurg. We called her Oni. Those two girls were about the same age. I think they were in the same class. But when those two girls got together, if it wasn't the most giggly, whatever you want to have. And I can remember when Mom would say, "Girls, stop your giggling and go to sleep." But they still would maybe lower it down a little bit. I don't know what they were giggling about, but they were doing a lot of giggling. I don't know what that was all about. There isn't really much more that I can say about Laura, because once she got into high school and college and a minister's wife and so on and so forth, you covered it very well, the minister here. I think Laura was a blessing to anyone that knew her. She had a temperament that she was to little brother who wasn't so good all the time. She would tolerate that nonsense, and I can remember that very distinctly. And I would probably say there's nobody in the congregation here that remembers Laura when she was 3 years old. But I remember her reading to me, and that was she enjoyed it, and I did too. And but her and Oni, it was. I just can't express enough about how those two girls got together. They were cousins, and they're just like girls. I don't know why they giggle so much. Anyhow, they did a lot of giggling, and like I said, I can remember Mom saying, "Girls, stop your giggling and go to sleep." Well, we maybe toned down a little bit, but it wasn't complete. No, I really can't say much more about Laura, because then she got into college, and from then on, I think our minister has said what needs to be said. She was a wonderful gal, and wonderful. And again, this is not a poem necessarily, but I thank my God, and I will to the end, for giving to me such a wonderful friend and sister. Amen.
Sir, your